want to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
Today, there's a lot of people, especially upper-class liberal-type people, that are really coming out against spanking. And spanking is shown to be harmful to development. But the data is not so overwhelming that it means that all spanking is detrimental. In other words, what I'm saying is they have a hidden agenda. These no spank under any circumstances ever.
Mm-hmm.
What they're hiding is the fact that they're neglecting their children. They're not present. They're not present with their children. They go around saying, look at me, I don't spank my child. True. You just dump them off at the daycare when they're 3 months old and forget about
them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you described it exactly. I think there's what is the solution, Henry? What do you see as a potential solution?
Well, we would have to have a new government, have to have a whole new society, a revolution.
Well, and it's been argued, and Herbert Marcuse, the UCLA instructor, who, by the way, had the Black revolutionary Angela Davis as one of his students in the late 60s. He's a noted, well, if we're going to label him, he would be considered a communist theorist. But anyway, he thinks that the masses are being dumbed down, and I think so too. You know, everybody walking around now with the handheld device and playing some kind of a game 24/7 and constantly being entertained and distracted, that just allows the 1% who are in control. If they keep the general populace dumbed down, I mean, how can you get people? There's not going to be a revolution if everybody's got their nose buried in some kind of a handheld device.
Exactly, but I don't think that's. I don't think you can blame that all on a conspiracy. It comes about naturally. It comes about. It comes about organically with the with progress, with the takeover of machines.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the economy accrues to this type of dumbing down because the economy really don't need smart people anymore. Don't need people at all.
It's interesting when we draw analogies and how great film directors who make social commentary on what's going on observe these things within their film, and I want to at this moment refer to an extremely good film. Came out 2006, 2007. It's by an independent director, George Romero, and it's the fourth in a series. He's done several since then. The Living Dead series, which many people are familiar with, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Well, the fourth installment was called Land of the Dead. Now, in this movie, we have a Donald Trump-like character who has taken a big high-rise penthouse skyscraper in Pittsburgh and barricaded it on three sides several blocks away. There's the lower class that lives in virtual poverty and outside, but the city itself has been gated, fenced, protected from the zombie incursion. And all of the elite people are living in this big high-rise, which still has restaurants in it and still has malls and still has a semblance of an economy that this man, the Donald Trump-like figure, has created. And, of course, all these people pay enormous sums to live in this place, because, the rest of the earth is pretty well overrun with zombies, and society has basically collapsed. So he's created his own little feudal society, shall we say. Now, he sends teams of people out, in armored trucks into the little tiny towns out in the countryside to raid what's left of the grocery stores and what's left of the little mom and pops to get supplies, liquor bottles, whatever food isn't perishable, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the zombies are just zombies, they're mindless beings. But they've learned, these crews that go out with weapons and tanks and armored trucks have learned that if they'll shoot fireworks up in the sky, all of the zombies will stop paying any attention to them and stop trying to attack them. They'll look up at the sky. They'll look up and look at the fireworks because it distracts them, So let's keep them distracted with something so we can further our agenda and do what we're doing. Anyway, I've got to hand it to George Romero for making some stunning social commentaries. He did the same thing in the second movie of the series, Dawn of the Dead, in which he takes a slap at American consumerism and capitalism in general, and that's where the small group of survivors land in a helicopter atop a mall. They then fortify the mall against the zombies, and, of course, they enjoy the pleasures of the kingdom. They have the unlimited food, the unlimited clothing. All the power's still on because it's a nuclear-powered mall. And so they just go on just enjoying life, while the rest of society collapses. Again, George Romero makes a social commentary there, and I thought that I would weigh in with that because it so closely parallels with what you're saying.
Have you seen Ex Machina?
I haven't yet, but I will. Tell me about that.
Well, it's a sci-fi movie about robots taking over.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good movie, very, very well put together, very well acted. It's very predictive of what's going to happen, what's coming.
It's interesting you say that because I'm also sure familiar, Henry, that you are familiar with and remember a movie called Soylent Green, and a number of people have pointed Soylent Green out to me.
That was a good movie too. Very prescient.
And as far as this whole subject matter goes, I would recommend not only the book but the movie as well, 1984 by George Orwell, which again addresses the intelligence, the ability of computers and the ruling elite, whatever the governmental structure happens to be, to control the flow of information. And again, I pointed this out before, and so have you. We're in an age now where so many kids and young people don't pick up a book and read it. They go to a Kindle or an e-reader. They get all their information off the Internet. And if somebody wanted to, and they do this in China, if someone wanted to control access to information, Henry, if the powers that be, whatever they may be in our socioeconomic situation, decide to make it where we just can't get information, it's just not available on the Internet anymore, that's possible. The situation exists now where information can be controlled on the Internet. Our access to it, whether we're allowed to see it or not, whether it's even there, not so with books. As long as books exist and are around, you can't do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's a problem. There's a problem with that. As far as the control of information goes. You can find out something in a book or online or something like that. I mean, some earth-shaking thing, like the world is going to end next Thursday if we don't do A and B.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find out this stuff, but try getting it out to the public. You can't do it because you're one voice, and your one voice is drowned out by the mass media, who in other words, the media is getting information to 99.9% of the people, and you're trying to get information to just one or two people.
Right.
So information is already controlled by the television and the movie industry, and one person, or even one group of people uh, if you don't control these media, you're shit out of luck because you can't compete with them. You have to
Absolutely. And any young filmmaker, period, and I've met many of them, and as you know, I have my own series going on YouTube, will tell you how difficult it is to get subscribers and to get views and to make anything go viral. That almost happens accidentally. Only certain things click and take off and get huge thousands of viewers. And everything else, you just get a handful of viewers, or maybe if you're lucky, you get 100 subscribers or a couple of hundred viewers or whatever. And that even takes time, weeks or months to build up that, because there's massive competition. There are 3 million ebooks a year published, Henry. 3 million ebooks. Think about that. That's massive competition on Amazon right there in the ebook level.
I know it. An ounce of truth is drowned out by 4 million gallons of lies.
That's exactly what's taking place. And I don't know what the answer is.
It's not that you can't. It's not that you're not forbidden to tell the truth. It just don't do you any good.
Correct. He's like the little guy in the little town that publishes a newspaper that has 100 or 1,000 subscribers, and then the New York Times has 6 million. It's what you're up against. And the corporate media is very definitely controlled and manipulated by certain forces, shall we say. Whether we decide to try to assign them a certain category or group or political agenda, whatever the case may be, very definitely mass media is controlled at a certain level.
Yeah, by the Zionists, Judeo-Christian Zionism. A belief in a 10,000-year-old superstition of God's chosen people. God don't have a chosen people. He's going to send us all to hell.
Of course, in China, they even control and restrict what you can look up on Google. I mean, the government...
They tried the one-child policy in China. I think 10 years. But that wasn't they didn't go for everybody. There was certain people that were exempt from it. But anyway, they tried that, and it didn't work out because it wasn't planned well. Because more boys are born than girls anyway, and so, just naturally, and over there they preferred to have boys, so they aborted a lot of the girls, and now they wind up with too many men in the country, and it just didn't work out well. What they should have done was to have one son, one daughter, and then have themselves fixed or be fined for every additional child that they had, to be heavily fined. And if they had a daughter first, they would be obligated, or they should be obligated, to put that girl up for adoption and trade her for a boy as a firstborn child. I know people wouldn't go for this, but this is the way it would. This is what would fix the problem. You know what I mean? Get us back to a naturally polarized society, where the men and women are equally valued in society, rather than the firstborn son being valued more, or the firstborn daughter being valued more. The eldest child being valued more, whether it's a son or a daughter. You following me?
I am, Henry. I am.
Okay. Because a son and a daughter would equally balance out the gender scale. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
And they would each have a special place and function in society. And after 30 years or so, society will have changed, and it will have become more natural, with women wanting to do women's stuff and men wanting to do men's stuff, and I guess it would have to be artificially created what men's stuff is and what women's stuff is. But one thing that's not artificial, women's stuff would have to include the care of children.
Mm-hmm. Well, Henry, on that note, as we come toward the end of this hour, do you have any final comments that you'd like to send out for anyone?
Yeah, well, I'd like to ask people if they think I'm right about the loss of gender roles creating child abuse, or if they think it's something else. And if so, what?
Henry Baxley, I want to thank you again for being our guest tonight. This show will be available on audio for download, and it will be shared in various Facebook groups and other places on the net as well. And the YouTube video will be created over the course of the next 2 or 3 days. Since it's a 1-hour show, this will probably be a 3-part YouTube video, and it will be readily available also. And again, everyone join the discussion. This has been Henry Baxley, and I want to thank you very much for being the guest tonight, Henry.
Enjoyed being with you. See you later, Jeff.
Good night.